Hello everyone and welcome back to another Guild Chatter. And today we're going to talk about why I love Monster Hunter World and why it's my favorite Monster Hunter game in the franchise so far. So let's get into it. So first I'll start off and say that I started with Monster Hunter with 3U or 3 Ultimate. On the 3DS mostly, but I had access to the Wii U version of the game. I didn't actually own the Wii U version though, but yeah, I started off with 3U, and it was when 3U came out. I knew about Monster Hunter for a couple of years prior. I remember seeing Monster Hunter Portable 1 for PSP at a game store I used to shop at, and I didn't have a PSP at the time, so I didn't buy it. I couldn't buy it. So yeah. But 3U was my introduction and it was rough. Like, the game was pretty hard for me to learn at first, and there was just so much information to take in all at one time. It was just really daunting. Granted, I really like that about video games, but this was just a different beast in itself. But I stuck with it, and when it clicked, it clicked. And I'm sure everyone says that about these types of games. But when it does click, it really does. You stick with it, and that's what I did. So yeah, after 3U, I pretty much stuck with the franchise. I actually liked it so much that I started a blog for my experience with 3U, and then eventually with 4U, and so on and so forth. But yeah, from through 3rd gen and 4th gen, going from 3rd to 4th was a big leap. Like, it was pretty big with all the verticality stuff, and it was just a big change. Things didn't feel super flat anymore, and I like that. I know there are some purists out there that still don't like these changes, but that's them. This is me. I love all the changes, or at least most of them anyway. Well, about the leap from 4th gen to 5th gen, which is Monster Hunter World, was even bigger, especially graphical. And I'm not gonna say that graphics alone is what swooned me over for World. It definitely isn't, but it is a part of it. It is a part of it. This is the best that Monster Hunter has ever really looked, I guess, aside from maybe Monster Hunter Online. Not Frontier, I'm talking about the Chinese co-developed game. Maybe comparing those two together, but there's just so many great quality of life changes in Monster Hunter World that just flat out make it the best Monster Hunter game. And everything from combat changes to being able to roll backwards, which is such a big thing. It seems so small, but it's such a big thing. And the way the game is being updated is treated sort of like an MMO in a sense, as far as like presentation goes. I can see that Capcom kinda takes some inspiration from Final Fantasy 14 in a sense. If you look at the weapon poses, well, those were definitely things in FF14. So I'm pretty sure they kind of exchange ideas every now and then. But yeah, I mean, World is just damage numbers, which is a huge deal because Monster Hunter has never had damage numbers before. And when we found out that World was going to have that, it was really weird. And I know I myself, along with many other people, were debating about just turning them off. But then when you play the game and you realize how important damage numbers actually are, there's no way I could turn them off. Like, they're just so important. They help out so much for hit zones, so that you don't have to constantly do research on certain monsters and their damage hit zones. So, I mean, being able to go back into camp, and getting your items and changing your loadout on the quest is such a big deal. And it's one of those things I never really thought that I wanted in Monster Hunter. But we got it, which is, it's kind of strange. I guess Monster Hunter World is one big clusterfuck of things that I never knew I wanted in Monster Hunter that work so well. So let's talk about difficulty and Monster Hunter World compared to the older games. So a lot of people will say that Monster Hunter World is the easiest Monster Hunter game, or that, it's not as hard as older games because they were just harder, and now things are easier. This is easy mode. And let me tell you why that's bullshit. That's not exactly the case, I would say. Now, there are certain quality of life changes that make the game seem a bit easier in a sense. But the difficulty in this game is different. It's not necessarily easier. So, older games, especially first and second gen, had really bad hitboxes. The games were notorious for having bad hitboxes, but on top of that, there were a lot of design choices in those games that were just plain stupid, that just made the game a chore, and in a lot of cases made the game harder. So if you take about, what does that mean? If you think about like drinking potions, in 5th gen you can move while drinking your potion, and is that harder than drinking a potion and flexing for a few seconds? Not necessarily, because the difficulty is different, because a lot of monsters are faster and they have more mobility, because you're faster and you have more mobility. That's why Rajang is such a faster monster in this game compared to older games where, yeah, he had some speed, but there were a lot of clear openings for Rajang compared to now. So the difficulty thing I can't really agree with in a sense. And I feel like a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people are so quick to say that this feels easier to me, so this means this is bad. Or this is like casualizing Monster Hunter. I think what a lot of people may want to try to understand is that they're trying to reach a broader audience. So at some point, things may be a little bit more condensed and more accessible. And I know the word accessible in the gaming space is a dreadful one, but I do think that this was for the best for Monster Hunter. And this game performed so well that I don't think we're going to see quote unquote classic Monster Hunter or old style Monster Hunter. I don't think we're going to see that again. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to use World as a basis for now and tweak things depending on the hardware the next game is on. So, but that's just what I think. But yeah, I love Monster Hunter World, and yeah, I kind of ran out of words.